Dave Geddis, and we are here to talk about water conservation today. And I'd like to thank Mayor Bloomberg for making me make a conscious decision on choosing between two 16-ounce glasses of water rather than one big gulp. And this goes to Jon Stewart from the Daily Show for soldiering us with his humor. Thanks, John. But in all honesty, we do need to start thinking about water conservation, because if we don't start thinking about water conservation, there is already plans in the works that it's going to make us think about water conservation, and I'll get to that in a minute. Starting off your day, this is what you need to start thinking about doing when it comes to water conservation. You need to figure out how to brush your teeth without using so much water. You need to think about how to shave your face without using so much water. And that water that you're using, instead of letting it go down the sink, find a better use for it. That water just got used twice, and I'll explain to you why. Oh, sorry, I added fluoride to the water, didn't I? Here, let's talk about the fluoride real quick, okay? Because it's not about the fluoride. Fluoride is a disinformation, folks, okay? This is the Pinellas County Consumer Confidence Report. It does not test for mercury. We've gone over this before. Now, the reclaimed water is a privately funded occupation. This facility is underwritten on your utility charges as a privilege. Now, should somebody sue our utility over the fact it's got mercury in it? Not positive, but I'm pretty sure it does. That's a pretty obvious element that they intentionally omitted. Executive Order 12803 mentions to intentionally neglect conditions in order to advance certain objectives. That's an act of omission. If the EPA sues our utility, they're going to foreclose our utility, and that would be extortion. Our utility would now be a privately run facility. I've gone over the reclaimed water variance contract. I explained to you that the variance contract takes title to the land underneath your home. Read Resolution 95-286, Section 4, C-2. Read Ordinance 97-103, Section 126-509A. Okay, follow me. Let's go into the shower now. When you're taking a shower, you notice that your shower nozzle, it's a perpetual flow nozzle. Why would they do this in light of what I just showed you with the reclaimed water being so impetuous about water conservation? Wouldn't you think that when you go to the plumbing department at a local hardware store, that all of our plumbing devices would either have timing mechanisms on them where they would run, your sink would run for 5 seconds or 10 seconds, rather than a perpetual open flow, be push button or something of that sort. Or why wouldn't these be trigger activated? It's not as though that this is something new. Your garden hose has an apparatus on the end of it where you manually turn it on and off as you need to use the flow. Our shower nozzles, were they intentionally made so that they didn't have some sort of a shut-off valve on them? I could literally take a shower in 5 gallons or less. Now, what we need to do with our shower water, when you get through taking a shower, you're going to need to take that water, and you're right, you're going to need to have a secondary use for it. House Bill 639, which just was passed, states in there an impact offset. Now, an impact offset is where the reclaimed water is going to be used as an indoor event, keeping in mind that the reclaimed water, once you tap into it, Resolution 95-286, Section 3K, you allow the reclaimed water facility police powers to enter your premises to assure compliance with their demands. They don't need a search warrant. Once you hook into the reclaimed water, or once they demand that you have to use reclaimed water as an impact offset for such activities as your toilet or washing your clothing, okay, then they don't have to have a search warrant. They can come in to your house day or night according to Resolution 95-286, Section 3K, to assure that you comply with this. Now, where does House Bill 639 come from? House Bill 639 is a promulgated event from Chapter 373 of the Florida State Statutes. Where does Florida State Chapter 373 of the Florida State Statutes come from? Well, that comes from the Florida Resource Act of 1972. Now, the Florida Resource Act of 1972, well, at least the Florida Resource Act of 1972 omits pollution concerns. The Resource Act of 1972 was based further on a book of water code written by Frank Maloney in the 1950s and 60s. But during the 1970s, Pinellas County and Tampa in general were overdeveloped, faster than some of the fastest development in the history of the world took place here. All of the residential homes were fully equipped with sprinkler devices. Now, why would the Florida Resource Act of 1972, being based on Frank Maloney's water code book written in the 1950s and the 60s, intentionally neglect our limited groundwater reserves? Why would the Resource Act of 1972 omit intentionally the pollution aspects caused by development? Well, as I explained here, with the fluoride, our commissioners and politicians and local media drawing our attention, disinforming us about the fluoride, omitting the mercury, that's a trick, okay? So is the Florida Resource Act of 1972 a trick. Because as we see highlighted within the reclaimed water occupation, our land title is taken, people allowed to enter our homes without a warrant. All this is kind of coming to play with developing terms through the act of omission. Our pollution concerns were deliberately set aside in the early 1972 for this event to take place today in the 2012. We got set up. So we've got to be real careful as to how we are allowing our politicians not to address certain issues in a timely fashion, because it's turning out that our past politicians, going clear back to the 70s, have been in on certain undertakings that have suppressed nature itself for a political advancement, a private political corporate invocation. Read Statute 373.019, section, I think, 15. It describes a corporation as being a person. Read Statute 153.03, section 5, where this corporation is allowed to take your personal and real property for non-compliance or payment. Read Statute 170.03, taking your rights. That's all of them. A transfer of development rights in Pinellas County here would entail a private corporation or entity leaning upon your remaining home value for payments for such things as groundwater recharge devices, replumbing of your home, folks, we've got a very serious issue to address here, and if our politicians are not going to address this, then we need to get down to our commission officers, or our commissioners, and start demanding that they get certain things done. A lot of our commissioners are going to be leaving here soon because of this 2-term limit deal, and I disagree with allowing them to leave, because those were the ones that helped assist. Those were the ones that know past political undertakings and misgivings. So we as homeowners need to start, you're right, watching how we use our water when we brush our teeth. We need to take that water, we need to reuse it in different fashions before they allow some other third party to come into our homes and force us to do it. Our driving us out of resource was intentional, this reclaimed water invocation was planned way back in the 70s with the Resource Act, omitting pollution concerns. Folks, wake up, man. This is the real thing. We've got to get our policing involved on watching our politicians at this point, because the criminals happen to be or were on our past ballot, and they're coming to shine now. So, thanks.